Hi, everybody. So it turns out that I had some technical difficulties, so we're behind by about a week. So that means that there's a delay in when I record these videos and when you see them. You might notice we've got a different setup here. That's because my usual headset microphone has got some problems. So I need to replace that cable. It's a bit expensive, and I can't do that right now because I'm going to be moving. I went up to Toronto a couple of weeks ago. Well, it'll be a couple of weeks ago by the time you see this video, because I wanted to meet with a roommate and see how things are going to go. And we got along really well, and I love Toronto, and I have Canadian citizenship, so we're going to do this. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to it, and also kind of worrying about what's going to happen. Which brings us to today's video topic, which is dealing with things that are scary and hard, trying things, failing, and picking yourself back up. I realize I can't assume that you guys have watched all of my Let's Plays, which are also kind of vloggy, like here is the game I'm playing, and also here's the thing that's happening in my life. So I'll give you a little bit of a summary. I had a really steady, predictable life where I was married. I'd had the same job for over 5 years. I'd lived in the same place for like half a decade or more. And I was like, okay, I know what my life is doing right now. Then I left my ex-husband. Notice the ex part. We're divorced now. And started implementing a series of changes in my life. I grew up in Texas, and I'd never lived outside of Texas in my adult life. So I'd always wanted to move out of Texas. That was one of the things that my ex-husband and I didn't agree on, is that he was happy staying in Texas because he'd done his traveling and I hadn't done my traveling. So now I'm in a position, right, where I'm single again and I'm in charge of my own destiny, and I'm the only person that has to be pleased with the decisions I make. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll move out of Texas. This job shows up and it's like the perfect extension of what I've been doing, the obvious next step in my career, great opportunity, really exciting stuff. And I interview for it. They fly me up to Pennsylvania for it. Things seem to be going perfectly. This is as good an opportunity as I could possibly hope for. I'm hedging my bets. I'm taking the safe risk. I get the feeling that being afraid of taking risks is like a high anxiety person sort of thing, because you obsess over what could go wrong and you obsess over trying to get everything perfect to guarantee a good result. I don't know if you followed my streams in early 2018, but that's not how things played out. The most polite and cautious, knowing this is going on the internet, way of describing what happened is that the position that I interviewed for and that they promised me and that my job description said I was going to be taking, and the position that my boss wound up wanting me to take, were not the same. I wound up going into an environment that wasn't a good fit and being expected to do job tasks that were not my background. I didn't want to say I can't do this after having taken that risk, after having had such high hopes. I wanted to believe that I could make this work. I felt like it was my fault, I wasn't trying hard enough. I wasn't good enough. If I quit that job, I was going to be a whiny baby who couldn't handle things being difficult. So I wanted to soldier on through. Meanwhile, I was writing these Facebook post updates for my friends and family back home. And I've gone back and looked at those, and it's like this steady, miserable decline into depression and self-loathing and guilt. And it's just painful. Everybody was just like, oh my God, Lauren, are you going to be okay? I don't know. It was really hard. It's really important not to gaslight yourself, by the way. It's really important to listen to your feelings. Be aware, as we've talked about, that your emotions can color the way that you perceive things. And so you might feel like things are a certain way that's just terrible. And then when you pull yourself away from those feelings, it turns out that actually the situation's not so bad. The situation was so bad in that case. I wound up having to get a reality check from my old boss from Texas, who had been my boss for like 8 years, and we were really, really close. I knew that I could trust her input, and I knew that she would tell me if the problem was in fact me. But she listened, and she said, no, it's not you. You need to get out of there. This is not fair to you. It is not a good situation for you. And it's taking a huge toll on your mental health. You are so depressed and so anxious. So I quit that job. I could tell stories about how that went. It definitely reinforced the necessity of my leaving there, and that it was a good idea for me to get away when I did. And then I'm left with this depressed, anxious puddle of Lauren, like scraping myself off the floor. And I'm like, oh man, I thought I was done scraping myself off the floor. That was like the 6 months after I left my ex-husband was just so bad. It was so hard. And I thought, I've survived that. What's next? And then this job situation just falls apart so bad. After I quit that job, I was kind of freaking out because I didn't have another job lined up, and I didn't know what to do. There weren't a lot of other jobs in the area because I moved to a small town where the place I had been employed was one of the only employers in the area, and that wasn't going to happen again. So what do? Well, I'd always wanted to be a freelancer, but I'd always been scared of taking the chance to be a full-time freelancer. So it was like this dream, this far off in the distance dream, but not something that I ever thought would actually happen. And then I look around and I've got this perfect situation where I have no choice, kind of, but to try full-time freelancing. Full-time freelancing is hard because you don't have guaranteed income. You don't have health insurance. And for somebody with anxiety, the lack of stability is terrifying, especially because I'd taken this other risk before and just watched it fail magnificently. But I managed to make it work despite some major personal challenges, and I got through 2018 as a freelancer, and now here it's 2019 and I'm still a freelancer. Part of the lesson here that you can fail and not die. And I know that sounds really dramatic. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a dramatic person. I figure you probably know that by now. But I don't know that I was literally afraid that I was going to fall over dead if I took a chance. I'm fortunate enough and privileged enough that I do have a safety net in the form of my friends and my family. So I knew that the worst case scenario, I was going to be okay. But I didn't want to run home to Texas. I didn't want to admit defeat. I wanted to prove to myself that no, actually, I could do this. I could go through a failure, just across the board. That job failed. And I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to go home with my tail between my legs unless I absolutely had to. I wanted to prove to myself that I could be in a hard situation and make it through to the other side. A lot of times in my life when things get really hard, it's not that I run away, it's that I get crushed and collapse under the weight of despair and hopelessness. And I didn't want that to happen this time around. I managed to make Pennsylvania work until Knox died. I think that I can give myself some credit that a bad job couldn't break me. That kind of depression couldn't break me. Personal challenges in 2018 couldn't break me. The thing that broke me was that my cat died. And that's when I had to come home to Texas. That's when I finally had to say, I need help and I can't do this. So it's not that I have failed repeatedly and been crushed repeatedly. It's that sometimes things that are hard happen. And that's what happened here. Just a bunch of things that were hard all in a row. And I've spent the past 6 months emotionally recovering from losing a cat who is, for all intents and purposes, my child, and figuring out what it is I want to do next. At every stage of my life, people keep saying, "Oh, you're going to come back to Texas now?" No, I don't want to. Part of why I did this whole thing in the first place is because I want to live my life in a way that I wasn't in Texas. There's a whole world out there, and I want to explore it, and I want to take adventures and meet new people and try new things and eat new food and explore new places. So in one, I'm like terrified of change and failure. And on the other hand, I want to do all of these things that are scary and hard and different and don't guarantee success. I do best emotionally when I have predictability and security and stability, because I'm kind of inherently an emotionally unstable person. But I don't want to lead a stable, predictable life. I want to have adventures. I feel like what's best for me and what I should be doing and what I want to do are fundamentally at odds with one another. And I'm kind of afraid that this means that for the rest of my life, I'm going to throw myself headlong into these scary, difficult, risky situations, and then things are going to go badly and I'm going to fall apart. I've been working really hard for years to build security and stability right here in myself, rather than having to have external stability, and rather than turning to outside sources for my self-esteem, for my security, for my sense of where I belong. Trying to move all of that stuff internally is only going to be good for me, and maybe it'll be enough for me to weather the inevitable bumps of life. Like, there's gonna be turbulence. I need to be able to rely on myself and to know that I can put myself in these situations and be okay. Being okay doesn't mean never falling down, and it doesn't mean never asking for help. It just means that you get up and you keep going, even if you need help from other people to get there. I'm preparing to move to like a whole nother country. And admittedly, it's not halfway across the world like Japan. It's not a place where I don't speak the language. And I have a ton of friends and even some family up there. But it's still another country. And when I think about the last move that I did and how badly it went and how hard it was, I have to admit, part of me is terrified. What am I going to do if I move to Canada and things go wrong like they did when I moved to Pennsylvania? I don't know. But I made it through that. And so I could conceivably make it through this, even if it is hard, which it will be. Like, that's the thing. You can't guarantee success no matter what you do. Even if I had stayed, married in this steady job I'd held for over 5 years in the city that I'd lived in for a while, even if I hadn't stepped out of that into the unknown, things could still have gone wrong. Life isn't predictable. It isn't safe. You can try to prepare for and minimize risk and chance in your life. And for some people, maybe that's a good idea for your own well-being. But you can't guarantee success, and you can't guarantee an easy path. Things are always going to go wrong. So if you're like me and you want to go out and have adventures, I guess go have those adventures so things will go wrong and you're having adventures. I feel like with these videos, I'm supposed to do here is your takeaway. Here is what you can do. I don't know. I think I'm just mostly doing this to record on video how I feel. Maybe normalize the experience of not knowing what you're doing. Sometimes people say to me, things seem so easy, Lauren. They seem to come to you so easily. And I'm like, no, I'm working really hard and failing. I fail. And then I go and I cry in a corner and people have to pick me up off the ground. So I guess this is me pulling back the curtain and being like, hey, this is really hard. Sometimes this sort of thing is hard for everybody. You might look at my life and be like, whoa, that's so cool. Lauren's moving to another country. Wow. And it is really cool. And I am extremely lucky that I can do it. But also it's going to be really hard, and I'm probably going to cry, and something's probably going to go wrong, and I might even fail. I hate failing. Like, I need to be walked through exactly what to expect when I take a risk. If you've watched my Overcoming Shyness presentation, you've heard me talk about when my parents made me start talking on the telephone to order our pizzas for the family. I like sat there with like a notebook and I was like, tell me, what are they going to say? And then what do I say? And then what are they going to say next? And then what do I say next? And I had to plot it out. I hate not knowing what I'm doing. And I hate making mistakes. And I hate failing at things so much. But I'm gonna fail at things no matter what I do. I'm gonna get things wrong. I'm second guessing myself, and I know I'm gonna be second guessing myself even after I move up there. I'm gonna be like, was this right? Crying. No, this wasn't right. This was wrong. I made the wrong decision. What was I thinking? Because that's what happens when you do things like leave a job or move across the country or leave a relationship or anything that is a major change. You always second guess yourself. But I guess I got to do it anyway. You know? I can't be ruled my whole life by my fear. I can't let anxiety strip away my chances to do the things I've always dreamed of. That doesn't mean the anxiety's not there. It just means that I've learned to hold it at a distance and take action despite what my anxiety brain is saying. I would love to be like, yes, and then you will achieve maximum level anxiety fighter and your anxiety will be vanquished. I don't think that's how it works. Okay, so it's like purple face is my anxiety. And my whole life, he's been like, hey, Lord, I'm your anxiety. Everything's gonna go wrong. What happens if it goes wrong? What happens if everybody hates you and you fail and everything's bad? And I'm like, okay, buddy, you stay over there. And I'm going to go this way. And I go this way. And like, you see, he still comes with me, but there's distance. And so I think you learn to like put some distance between you and your anxiety. So now I guess it's time for me to take another risk, take another chance. I know where I want to go and I know what I want to do. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I have no guarantees that things are going to go well. I just know that I want to try this. And so I'll try to have faith in myself. I have put a lot of thought and planning for about a year now into exploring what it would be like and how I could pull off living in Canada. And so I have to have some faith in myself. And then I just gotta like step off that ledge and hope that I fly. Thank you for watching my video. Bye bye.